Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Rachel Rogers, Mama Mentor, and today we are tackling the subject of what you do when your spouse or family members disagree with the concept of respectful parenting. For this video, we're going to have to break this into two categories: what you do with your spouse and what you do with family members, because what you do is going to be different because you're closer to your spouse and you're not going to be able to set as strict of boundaries as you could with, say, family members. So let's break down what to do with your spouse first. The first thing that I recommend is to go to your spouse and have a respectful conversation. After all, we're talking about respectful parenting, right? Maybe getting over a little bit into marriage tip world, but if you were a woman and you approach a man disrespectfully, he's going to tune you out. He's going to tune you out because respect is how he feels most loved. So if you're going to have the conversation about how are we going to raise our children, and you approach him trying to tell him what he is or is not going to do, or what you are or are not okay with, he's going to tune you out. He's going to shut you out. He's going to shut down, and he's probably going to be maybe a little bit defiant and rebellious. However, if you approach him with respect and you explain the why behind your desire to parent this way, he's going to be a lot more open to hearing you out and trying to understand what it is that you are trying to accomplish. Which brings me to my next point. The first thing that you're going to want to explain to him is the why. What is the cause? What is the purpose? What is the reason for you wanting to parent this way? What was it about your upbringing that caused you to want to do things differently? How did your upbringing affect your relationships with authority figures and other people, such as your spouse or your friends or family members? Maybe your upbringing altered the relationship that you have with your parents now, and you're just simply trying to protect your children from feeling the way that you have felt. In respectfully approaching your spouse with this information, it gives them the ability to understand you and maybe even to see things that they didn't realize they were facing or they were dealing with authority figures or relationships, or even their relationship with their own parents. The second thing that I feel like is really important to discuss with your spouse is the outcome that you are desiring. Simply explaining to your spouse that the prefrontal cortex, which is responsible for calm decision-making skills, the control of impulses and emotions, and how it is not fully developed until our children are in their mid-20s, just that fact alone may help them to understand, okay, we want to fully develop this, right? And just simply telling them as well that aggression and aggressive behaviors, tones of voices, looks on our faces actually stunts the growth of the prefrontal cortex, that alone may be enough for them to think, okay, I want to do this differently too. I want my children to be able to make calm decisions. I want them to be able to control their impulses and emotions, especially as they move into their teen years. So if we can support that by parenting respectfully and not permissively, and explaining this isn't about letting our children run all over us. This is about setting boundaries, but setting them in a respectful and calm way, and actually modeling respect rather than just demanding it because we're authority figures. One of the things that I explained to Jason whenever I wanted to venture down this path of respectful parenting and kind of veer away from the ways that we both were raised was that I didn't want to be a micromanager of my child. He and I both had been in jobs where we had someone above us that was micromanaging us, and neither one of us liked the way that that felt. And we saw some similarities in how our parents acted. And again, our parents, we both have fantastic relationships with our parents. We do not fault them. We understand that they were raised a certain way and they didn't have the resources and the research that we do today. But because we have this information and we see a different path, and we see that this path of respectful parenting actually helps with brain development and helps us have better relationships and with the world, with people around us, then we're like, okay, well, we want to take this information and actually implement it and parent in this way. We don't want to be like the bosses that we've been under that we had really terrible relationships with, And when our children ask us why, we want to be able to give them a good reason. Were you ever raised with parents that when you asked the question why, the answer was because I said so? I remember that driving me crazy as a child because I legitimately just wanted to know the reason. I wanted to know, okay, well, explain the why behind this. And usually, my mom will admit now, If she said because I said so, it's because she didn't have a good reason. She just wanted me to do what she told me to do. That's micromanaging. So now in my parenting journey, I actually offer the why to Peyton before she even asks for it. The next thing that I suggest whenever you're talking to your spouse about respectful parenting is to give them examples. You can show them my TikTok channel, my Instagram channel, this YouTube channel, and let them hear the information for themselves and just say, here, watch this and let me know what you think about this. Because there are a lot of parents that follow me collectively together, husbands and wives, that say, you know, my husband wasn't on board until I started showing him your videos. And then that opened his eyes to a lot of things that I wasn't able to explain. And now we both respectfully parent. Now we both are trying to do better in this way. Simply having a visual can be a very powerful learning tool for anyone. So showing your spouse who may not agree with this approach, showing them those actual examples of parents working through a tantrum or a meltdown with respectful parenting tools might be exactly what they need to want to take this path with you. From time to time, I will catch some of these moments on camera and provide you guys with a hands-on example of me applying the tips that I teach. But I am very careful to protect the privacy and intimacy of these moments for Peyton. When she's having a meltdown or a tantrum, that is her most real, raw, vulnerable emotion. So to always have a camera right in her face, catching every one of those moments is very disrespectful, which totally goes against everything that I'm about. While I do find it very important to give you guys a hands-on example, I think that for her, it's more respectful if I tell you about the moment in hindsight rather than always trying to catch it when it's happening. To recap, with your spouse, you first want to explain the why. The second thing you want to do is explain the outcome that you're desiring. And the third thing that you want to do is give practical examples. Now, let's talk about family members, shall we? This is probably what I get messaged about the very most. Whether it's your in-laws, your siblings, your parents, most people have somebody that has something to say about respectful parenting. Usually this comes from a very good-hearted place. They are fearful that you are going to let your children walk all over you. The first thing that I suggest is to explain to them that respectful parenting does not mean permissive parenting, where your child gets to do whatever they want, whenever they want, and you just go about your day saying, okay, well, as long as it makes you feel good. No. It's quite the opposite. In respectful parenting, we absolutely still provide boundaries. And we also provide discipline, but we do both with respect. That's the difference. The second thing I suggest, and this one may be a little bit hard, but set clear boundaries. I am very thankful to have amazing in-laws and to have amazing parents who are wonderful in-laws for my husband. Neither of our families are invasive. Neither of them try to tell us what we should do or how we should be doing things, and we're very, very thankful for that. But I know that that is not the case for most people. A lot of people have in-laws or parents that still want to parent or still want to tell you how you should be doing things because they still view you as their children. I think it's absolutely okay for you to sit down and say, listen, you had your chance to parent and now I'm parenting, and I would ask that you would be very respectful of me and my journey as a parent myself. I understand that you and I may not always see eye to eye in the way that I parent my children, and that's okay with me. What I ask for and what I need from you is your respect on my journey. I need you to respect the boundaries that I set for my children in my own home, and I need you to carry those over into yours as well. This might actually ruffle a few feathers, but if you have a family member who just downright refuses to parent respectfully or to watch your children and be respectful to them, and they are hell-bent on spanking, on yelling, on reprimanding, punishing, all of the things that maybe you grew up with or they believe to be right and true, you may have to set some very, very strict boundaries where maybe your children don't see them as often, or they don't get to spend alone time. They only see these people when you are around and you can be there as the disciplinary. Where this gets really hairy is if you are divorced and you have an ex that wants to be the domineering, controlling, corporal punishment type parent, and you want to be the respectful parent. This is out of your control. It is out of your hands. It's not something that you can set very strict boundaries with. You may still be able to have a civil, respectful conversation and say, you know, I would like to discipline our kids in this way. Can you tell me what you think about that? I know for a lot of people, exes, you don't have that relationship. You don't have that kind of relationship with them, and they probably would do the opposite of what you want. That is okay. And it's one of those things where you're going to have to realize that your child will one day grow old enough to be able to see that they connected more with you. that they felt more respected with you. And they are going to go where they felt more respected and where they felt more connected. They're going to run to you more. They're going to lean on you more. And they may steer away from that other parent. And maybe at that point, your ex may realize that, maybe I shouldn't have done things the way that I did. Maybe they'll change. Maybe they won't, And unfortunately, that is a scenario that you just simply cannot control. What you can control and what you can do in those situations is explain to your child, especially once they grow old enough, that the way that your ex has chosen to parent may be different from the way that they're going to be parented in your home. And I would encourage them to utilize the tools that they gain in your house to explain their emotions and their feelings and what they are actually needing to the parent that might be a little bit more strict. Now, you can't control and your child can't control the outcome of that conversation that they have with your ex, but at least you're equipping them with tools to better communicate their emotions, their impulses, and their need to make a calm decision. Now, going back to family members that disagree with this concept of respectful parenting, you can use the same things that we talked about with your spouse, where you give them examples. One of the best examples is when you discipline your children in front of them and they get to actually see it in action, where you're able to get your child to a calm state much faster than maybe they are if they yell or spank. That hands-on example right in front of them might be one of the best tools that they could get from you. If you have a good enough relationship with them, an open relationship where you can actually communicate, you might try sending them videos as well and explaining the why behind it. That is actually what I did with my parents. I didn't necessarily send them videos, but I told them what I was learning from books that I was reading and how I felt like that was going to be helpful for me. And then I modeled it in front of my parents, and I saw the light bulb come on, like, oh my goodness, this is working. And it's working really well. And they seem to have a very, very good relationship. Maybe this does work. My parents definitely never said that I was stupid for wanting to do this or acted like I was ignorant for wanting to take this path. But I could tell that there were moments whenever Peyton would start to act out, would start to scream, would start to get a little bit sassy, that they were like, do something about that or what, And so I would apply the tools that I teach all of you, and I would see that light bulb come on, and I would see those moments where they were like, okay, that worked too. Wow, this is pretty interesting. Now, whenever I'm around them and Peyton starts to throw a fit, I don't even get a face. They're like, okay, do your thing. This works. And what's funny is that they have even started implementing some of these tools themselves whenever they are watching other grandchildren or watching Peyton herself. Ultimately, this all boils down to clear, concise, and respectful communication. You may have some family members that don't believe that you deserve respect because they still see themselves as an authority figure in your life. And quite honestly, there's just nothing you can do about that. You can try to have a conversation, and if it doesn't go the way that you want it to go, then you just go about parenting the way that you want to parent, set those stricter boundaries if you have to, and then give them examples if they feel open to learning. If they don't, then you just keep those boundaries where they need to be and go on about your business. Don't let their perception of your parenting affect the way that you perceive your own parenting. We are all amateurs at one point or another. So this is about what you believe is best for you and your family. So stand on that foundation firmly and confidently, and don't let anybody shake that foundation for you, okay? Be bold in your decision and be courageous in your decision to parent this way, and prove them all wrong, okay? Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that this was helpful for you, and I will see you all next week. Bye, guys.